Yo, 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 we are live. What's up, everybody in Giant American Bully Breed group? I know some of you guys are probably on some of the shares, and we also got the people in YouTube. Thanks for joining in. Give me just a second to get this all orchestrated. Hold on just a moment. Mute that. And we're going to go ahead and get this live going. Who saw that video of the of the bear running across the wall? That was crazy. Um, Crazy for a woman just run up. She was actually on the news. Turned out she's a 17-year-old girl. I think that dress had everybody thinking she was old or something. But yeah, that video is insane. Let me find the live real quick and pin it to the top of the group. Give me just a second. And mark as announcement. And why is this not muting? And bink. There we go. All right, so let's get into it. So again, welcome all you from YouTube. Thanks for joining in. I see you. Also, the people on Facebook, thanks for joining in. And of course, the people from Giant XL American Bully Breed Group, thanks for joining in. We got why is this popping up? We got two topics today, plus, of course, whatever you guys throw in, we will discuss that too. One of the topics so far is what are going to be? Oh, two types of bully breeders that should be breeding guinea pigs instead of dogs. And then also crossing breeds. How did we get to the American bully and the dogs that took it to the next level? A few of you hit me up because I did put, of course, Razor's Edge as a kennel. I also put Gray Line. A couple people had, hold on, you guys. There we go. A couple people had questions regarding that. And I also put Dax, to me, was a game changer. Miyagi set off a whole nother line of dogs that we call today the exotics. Rock was a dog I threw in there. I don't think he, from BGK, I don't think he gets the props he deserves. And one that people really had an issue with, as I said, I put Holt. You know, he was one of the dogs that took, especially the XLs, to the next level. Some people had an issue with that. But let's go ahead and get into this. Last week, hold on, let me see who's in here right now. And what's up, Betsy? Thanks for joining in. So as I see y'all, I'll give you shout outs. Make sure if you have any questions, you throw those in the comments. Even though they weren't in the topics, we will still hit them. But last week, we discussed live when it came to one part was, I forget who asked the question, but it was how to build up the chest and shoulders of the dog. And I made the statement that walking uphill fast and downhill slow. But I kind of made it sound like you have to walk uphill like fast. Like, you know how you see those people that are race walking and they switching back and forth. Not that type of walk. When you are looking to build up, if the only thing you have to really utilize is a uphill walk with your dog on leash, then you have your normal pace. It's about walking up faster than your normal pace, and going up will definitely assist with the pasterns of your dog and also help build the rear by slowing down your pace, or by speeding up your pace when you walk up. Again, you're not going fast, and then when you get to the top of the hill and you start going down, again, it's not about going down super slow to where, you know, you're doing one step every 2 seconds and your neighbors and your dog is looking at you funny. You just want to go slightly slower than your normal pace of walking. Going downhill will help you build the shoulders and the chest of the dog along with those pasterns, but from a different angle, assist with the back. So remember, you have your normal pace. You're just going to speed it up slightly going uphill, slow it down slightly, when you're going than your normal pace when you're going downhill. The other thing that came up from last week's live was inbreeding. A couple people had questions on that, how to safely go about it, which was the topic. One thing I don't think I touched on, I probably should have went back and watched the live. When it comes to inbreeding, the safest way, the way you can take the least gamble, it's always going to be a gamble, but the safest way you can take the least gamble is making sure that all four grandparents are totally unrelated. So on the mother's side, you got on the mother's side, you got grandpa, you got grandma. On the father's side, you got grandpa, you got grandma. If those four are totally unrelated, then chances are your inbreeding is not going to be as much of a risk as if they were related. The closer they get in relation, through whether it's line breeding or inbreeding, the more the risk you're going to be taking by doing your inbreeding. And the more of the four that are related, again, that's going to increase the risk. So let's say the dad on the mom's side is related to the dad or mom on the father's side of your dog. That's going to increase. Okay. So the least gamble is always going to be four unrelated grandparents. Just remember that. Once they start being related or in there more than once, then that's when you're going to start having, you're going to start increasing those risks of doing the inbreeding. When it comes to bloodlines, you're looking at nothing but line breeding and inbreeding to create the bloodline so that you can evolve and get that different temperament from other bloods and that different look from other bloods that's recognizable to your yard. Now, so when it comes to creating a bloodline, that's when you are taking the risk at its fullest. You know what I mean? Because the dogs are so related in order for you to get there, especially that first 4 to 6 generations tend to be related when you're creating a bloodline. But that is why before you do that inbreeding, you definitely want to make sure your dogs are as close to perfection as possible. That's when you definitely want to look into the health testing and get everything squared away before you actually do that inbreeding, because now you can be bringing dominant traits that you don't want together. You can be bringing negative or recessive traits that you don't want together, and it turns into something that you didn't expect it to. So therefore, you want to make sure that those dogs are good. But when it comes to inbreeding, again, remember, the safest way to inbreed is by knowing that all four grandparents are totally unrelated. That's one. And then remember, the more related they are, the higher the risk. And if you're creating your bloodline, the Bully Bred Kennels, what's up, man? Switch to the YouTube for sure. But so remember, the more they are related, the higher the risk. When you're talking about creating your bloodline, you have to be extremely smart in the dogs that you're choosing to breed, because you want as few flaws as possible. Betsy said, do the ramps we built give help as much as we hope? Was thinking of building one. Ramps are always good. A-frames are good. There's a guy, Self Archibald, who is dope at using his spring pole to get his dogs to run a course through his yard. And A-frame is always going to help build up your dog's strength going up and down. The thing with the A-frame that I would say is, remember, you want to always check it because your dog's running over it. You know what I mean? So before you start, always check it, make sure it's sturdy. The other thing is, try to get your dog to go down as far as possible. You don't want them getting to the A-frame, coming a couple steps down, and then just jumping off, because that's how injuries can take place, especially if you're using a flirt pole to lead them. So that A-frame is good. Ramps are always good. And just make them a part of your course. If you have the space in your yard, get yourself a little course, and you can use, that's another reason why I like a 10-foot flirt pole, is that it's long and you can kind of use it to go over that. And it gives the dog the feel of being there on his own, rather than a 5-foot flirt pole where you're right there up close with them. So again, ramps are great. The A-frame is another great tool to use to build muscle, but condition your dog to come down the A-frame rather than getting to the top of it to jump off. And that's just so you avoid injury. A lot of times these dogs will jump off, hurt themselves, but we won't notice it because they're in such a scramble to get to whatever the tool is that you're using or the lure is that you're using. So that was touching on last week. Other factors in inbreeding that I don't think I went over is the temperament, the mentality of your dog. When you do an inbreeding, a lot of times it is going to increase whatever it is. So if you've got a dog that is kind of dominant, doing that inbreeding can sometimes perpetuate that, give offspring that are going to be more dominant. Inbreeding can sometimes assist with cognition. From what I've noticed is line breeding and scatter breeding get you better cognition. There are times where you could take an extremely intelligent dog to another intelligent dog, and for some reason it just goes flat. That's just something I've noticed through my experience. So you also want to be smart with that. And then you always want to remember your factors in breeding, especially when you start line breeding and inbreeding, is the structure, the health, and the cognition of the dog. And of course, it's temperament and the drives that make up the temperament. Make sure you're paying attention to that before you get into any inbreeding, and make sure you're testing the thresholds within, each of the drives that you understand with your dog. Another thing when it comes to line breeding and inbreeding, if you pick a task, a job, whatever it is that you want for your dogs, you're breeding, a purpose, for whatever reasons, that tends to eliminate a lot of the issues that come with inbreeding, because your dogs, not only are you trying to lock in a look and a temperament, now you're trying to lock in an ability. And that third factor kind of opens the door for you a little bit to be able to get in there. And that's why you'll see, your working breeds are being bred, line bred, inbred. And for whatever reasons, there's no issues. And that's because their structure, their temperament still has to be able to fulfill the purpose. When you have no purpose and you're doing line breeding and inbreeding, you really are gambling if you're not paying attention to the temperament of your dog and the drives that make up those temperaments and the thresholds within each of the drives. If you're not paying attention to those things, and you're just doing it strictly for structure or looks or whatever, it is, a lot of times, that can go wrong. So make sure you're paying attention to that. So the least risk is always for unrelated grandparents. The least risk is always having a purpose that you're breeding for, an actual job. And it doesn't have to be a working dog. You can just like the intensity of your dogs when they go after the ball when you're playing fetch, the intelligence that they use, their fluid movement that they use when the ball is bouncing. And if you make that a part of your breeding and that a part of your expectations when breeding, like this dog has great structure, great temperament, but he's kind of lazy when he goes after the ball. So therefore, I'm going to hold off breeding him, and I'm going to breed my dog over here that has good structure, good temperament, but he goes all out for the ball. When you add that third factor in there, because the two factors is always mind and body, but when you add that third factor in there, purpose, you are creating less risk and taking less of a gamble. One of the best examples I can give you is the old family red nose. Is one of a few, not just lines within the, or whatever you'd call them within the pit bull family, but when it comes to dogs, period, the old family red nose is one of a few dogs that you can do a lot of inbreeding without creating structure issues, without losing drive, and these things that you may lose or cause when you're doing other breeds. That was one of the main reasons people love them so much, is not only were they game, but you could inbreed them pretty often and pretty tight without losing structure and without losing ability. In my opinion, that is one of the reasons the AKC, now I've heard they allow red-nosed dogs now, but in the beginning they didn't. And one of the reasons they didn't is because it was the only pit that you could truly breed for color and also gameness. And to have the AM staff, the AKC was trying to get away from that. But it was also one of the only dogs that you could do tight line breedings and tight inbreedings and still maintain structure. So what the AKC didn't want is to have a dog that has the look that people want. It get all of a sudden red gets popular, but the dog is grand champion in the AKC ring as an AM staff, but he's also got a brother that's grand champion in the fight ring as a pit bull. So they wanted to eliminate that, and the easiest way to eliminate that was keeping the red-nosed dogs out of the American Staffordshire class within the AK or breed within the AKC. Now, from what I understand that I've been told by a few people is that there are red-nosed dogs. I haven't heard that or looked into it, but I know in the beginning they didn't want it. Let's see. Bully Bred Kennel said, "What is it about those dogs that make them very inbreedable?" That's a good question. You would have to be back there. You figure it was 5 clans. I want to say it was 5 clans, 4 or 5 clans in Ireland that were focused on the old family red nose. And they all had these red-nosed dogs. There were some blues that came from the Kerry Terrier, blue Kerry Terrier, but they were focused on the red nose. So some clans had a small game dog, some clans had a larger game dog, some clans had something in between the two. Then by the time they came to the States, they were all fairly small. So they would be bred out, and a lot of people feel it's not so, but I think that's because they don't really understand the game back then. But when back then, especially when the Louisiana rules to fighting came into effect, you needed to be able to get more wind from dogs. So there were hounds that were brought in. And so the old family red nose, when it came to the States, did become a larger dog than what it was in Ireland. But some did maintain that small Irish structure. So you figure they had dogs ranging from 20 to 40 pounds come to America. Now all of a sudden you got dogs ranging from 40 to 60 and up. But it was the way they selectively bred those dogs and focused on their ability, enabled them to get those breedings extremely tight without having issues. And so when they came to America, it kind of opened the door. If you had a tight line breeding or inbreeding, and then you brought an old family red nose in, but you didn't necessarily want to stick to that, but you brought it into your yard for its abilities, what they started noticing over again is they could do tight line breedings, tight inbreedings, and without messing up structure. Not as much because the dogs weren't full old family red nose, but that was something those 4 or 5 clans back in Ireland were able to accomplish by being so specific with their line breedings and their inbreedings. Most people fall off doing line breedings and inbreedings for looks, things like that. You figure even if I decide I need a more powerful dog in my line, power comes with a look. So next thing you know, you're breeding for a specific look. Even though it's to help the ability of the dog, you still went for a look, and you start line breeding and inbreeding for looks, and now you have more of a risk than you would if it wasn't so much, if it was more focused on ability. Let's see. So the topics of today, where are we? The first one is 2 types of bully breeders that should breed guinea pigs instead of bullies. Here's the thing. Last week's live, we had somebody join in and they stated that these dogs, a few people have issues with the fact that I talk about drive when it comes to bullies, but I don't think they get it. So you'll see a lot of times people will want to argue with me or debate me when it comes to drive, and they get frustrated. And the first thing they say is, well, we don't want pit bulls anymore. We don't want a working dog. That has nothing. There's Chihuahuas with drive. There's Pomeranians with drive. All dogs are based off of drive, and then within those drives, they have different thresholds that cause them to be a breed or cause them to be specific individuals within a breed. And what I've noticed with the bully community, and if anybody was in on that live, you remember, the person was saying we breed docile dogs on purpose. Well, when you read the breed standard, docile means submissive. And when you look at the breed standard for the American bully, it's asking for a dog that's confident, that's well balanced. So that has nothing to do with docile. So why would somebody be so focused on the breed standard when it comes to the look of the dog? But then when it comes to the temperament of the dog, now all of a sudden I get to do what I want. But then I'm on Facebook talking trash and bashing other people for not sticking to the standard. Well, if you're breeding for a docile dog, you're not breeding for that standard either, because the standard states confidence, zest for life, or zest for life. A dog that's enthusiastic is what the breed is asking for. So when you try to say all of a sudden, but when it comes to temperament, I want a docile dog, then you can't knock the next man for doing whatever they want when it comes to the conformation of the dog, because that's what makes up a dog, is temperament and its look. So, but in the bully community, for whatever reasons, people seem to be real hard, steadfast on the look of the dog, but not so much the temperament. And I think, we're not understanding that these things go hand in hand. And if you're not looking at those things, let me get this other one up. Hold on just a sec so I don't miss you guys' comments. And let's bring those up. Here we go. Braxton, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. What's up, Cuzzo? Thanks for getting in. Brian Cruz, what's up? Thanks for joining in. So some of you guys' comments, I'll be able to tap and it will show up on the screen. Some of you guys, it won't. Let's see here. Make sure I'm not. Northern Edge, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in from Alberta, Canada. Jojo Parson, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. And Dewan Peterson, thanks for joining in. So when we talk about these dogs and we say, okay, we're going to take these working breeds, we're going to throw them together, and we're going to create a docile breed. That's not what the breed standard asks for. It doesn't ask for that at all. It asks for a dog that's able to function, get along, go to the dog park. And some people will say, oh, well, I want my dog to at least be docile to me. Yeah, that's perfect. That's why it's a companion species. But do you necessarily want your dog to be at the dog park and be submissive, docile to other dogs at the dog park? Those are the dogs that tend to get attacked. It's the confident dogs that are able to function at the dog park that don't get attacked by other dogs. Dogs don't like to see weakness in other dogs. So when you're talking about docility and you want a docile dog, you want to breed docility into your dog, you want to breed submissiveness into your dog, a lot of that has to do with you as a person. And that's why I say some of these bully breeders should have been breeding guinea pigs or cats or something else other than bullies, because these dogs have a bullish mentality. And if you start taking away from that, not only are you going to decrease health and intelligence because you're creating a dog that doesn't want to get up and do things as much, you're creating a dog that now when it goes to the dog park, rather than it just being submissive to you and your command because you took time to spend with your dog, it's now being submissive to other people's dogs at the dog park. And that's what can cause the friendliest Labrador to all of a sudden attack your dog, because it's just being overly submissive. So you don't want to breed docility. What you want to do is look at the drives that look at the drives that give you the temperament that the standard is asking for. You want a low, doesn't say anything about prey drive. You should be able to have a dog that has a high or medium prey drive, but still gets along with other dogs. That's how dogs hunt in packs, so what you want is, you don't want a dog that's got a high rank drive. You don't want, for the bully breed standard, a dog that's got a high dominance drive, high fight drive, high food drive. Food for treats is cool, but if he's dominant over food, you don't want that within this breed. But docility is not what the breed standard is asking for. Give me a sec to make sure that I hit some of these comments. Betsy Spirit Rider said, larger to please, along with the ability. Exactly. She are eager to please. Exactly. And that's what it's about. And that's what you don't see a lot of it, but that's what I call the purpose drive in a dog. You want a dog that is willing to do all things, sit on the couch, watch Netflix. Tomorrow, we're going to go hiking. Wednesday, we might go rabbit hunting. these dogs should be able to do that if you're conditioning their mind and body for it. And but they should still be able to go to dog shows and win without acting a fool in the ring. They should still be able to go to PetSmart and act accordingly. But a lot of times, somehow we have it in our minds that a high drive dog, a high prey drive dog, or a dog that's got a lot of energy is somehow going to, even the person last week correlated it saying that she didn't want her dogs attacking babies. That has nothing to do with the drives that we're looking for to create the best American bully. And that's by that standard. When you read the standard, it's not saying that, again, to have a submissive dog. All dogs should be submissive to other dogs. It should be able to get along, but it shouldn't have to be submissive to other dogs, because that's going to cause your dog not to be able to get along. So think about that when it comes to these dogs. You want to look at your dogs. And again, temperament has to be as important, if not more important, than conformation structure. It is the foundation of these dogs. So a dog with a weak temperament that's got low energy is, as a puppy, is not going to be running around. Oh, thanks a lot, Bully Mob Kennels. Mr. J, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. But so you got to think about these things, just like you're looking at, okay, my dog needs better feet. My dog needs more angulation. You should be constantly analyzing the temperament of your dog also, and having an expectation for it. We all know the expectation for angulation. We all know the expectation for not having a high rear. We know these things, but we need to start learning temperament, the drives that make up temperament, the thresholds within those drives. And threshold is just what a dog is willing to do before it's turned off. So if your dog has a high food drive, that means that dog threshold is high within the food drive category that makes up the dog's temperament. So we have to think about those things when we're doing breedings. And one day I need to break it out, but my cousin and I, we have a chart that's strictly based on all the drives within. And the more drives that you understand, the more drives you want to implement in your breeding and manipulate within your breedings. And you just want to take your time understanding. We all understand prey drive. Start from there. But we constantly are looking at that and pushing the dogs to see where their threshold is at in each individual drive. If it's something that we need to bring down, then we know that that's going to be the next breeding that we're doing. If it's something that we need to bring up, then we know that's going to be the next breeding that you're doing. And just like anything else, you're going to have, I got a dog that's got the play drive that I want, but he doesn't have the prey drive that I want. And then I got a dog over here that's got the prey drive that I want, but it doesn't have the play drive that I want. And how do you go about that breeding? You're going to lose some to get some. Well, it's the same thing as when you have a dog that's got weak pasterns but great angulation in the front. But then you got another dog that's got great pasterns but could be a little better with the angulation in the back. You know what I mean? So it's the same gamble. We have to understand that temperament is a phenotype. We know that phenotype is what we're able to see: color, length of fur, the tail set, the eye set, the ear set. Temperament is the same thing. It's just more difficult to see, but it is what we see in a dog. So always think of that temperament is, hey, Floyd, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Always think about that when it comes to your dogs, is that when it comes to temperament, the more you learn about temperament, it should be just as, those drives that make it up should be just as easy to see as the color of your dog. It's a phenotype, and you have to think about it in those ways. Let's see. Mr. J said, my boy is stupid, hyper all the time, but he's food. Let's see, but he's food at Petco, the park. Okay, I think he was saying he's good at Petco, the park, Lowe's, etc. He ain't dominant, but he won't submit. He'd rather start a game of play and change the scene. See, and that's what the standard is asking for. You know what I'm saying? Let's break it down. You said he's hyper all the time, zest for life. But at the same time, you as his owner have to be able to control that. so that he knows time and place. Time and place comes with intelligence and cognition. You said he's good at Petco, the park, so therefore he's got a low prey drive. He ain't dominant, which is good. Petco in the park, so he's got not prey drive, but he's got a low dominance drive. He's got a low rank drive. Some dogs can have a high rank drive and low dominance drive. Some dogs can have a high dominance drive in specific arenas. So you got a dog that gets along with every dog until one of those dogs comes up to you. Now all of a sudden your dog starts getting dominant. That's a dominant drive. If you got a dog that the minute you walk on to the to the dog park, he's dominating every dog, even though we use the word dominant, that's rank drive. He wants to be top dog there. And so we want to bring that down in the American Bully so that we don't have altercations around dogs. And at the same time, so that the dog meets the breed standard. And that's the best way to look at it. Floyd, thanks for joining in, dude. Let's see, what else do we got here? So think about that when it comes to this breed. It gives you two standards. One is temperament, one is conformation. For whatever reasons, the bully community over focuses on conformation and not enough on standard. And the bullshit excuse that everybody uses is it's a companion breed. Well, dogs are a companion species. We don't want them working. We're not talking about a working dog. Otherwise, we bring those drives up a lot higher. We bring more multiple drives up higher. Right now, we're picking and choosing selective drives. But all those things are a cop out. We want docile dogs. I want a dog that's another one. People say, I don't want a dog to protect my home. Well, if your dog's not willing to protect your home, it's territory. You got guns, so you don't need a dog to protect your home. First, let's face the facts. If anybody watched that Knight Rider movie, there was not Knight Rider. I'm tripping. That just showed my age on that one. Night Stalker. With the Night Stalker, they had a meeting on the town hall meeting where they were trying to figure out what to do about whoever it was that was killing people. And there was a dude that stated, everybody needs to get guns. Then you won't have to worry about it. If he ever comes to my house, I'm going to get him. I want to say it was that same night. Either it was shown on, I think it was shown on air on TV somehow, or he was the Night Stalker was present at that meeting without anybody knowing. Well, he found that dude and ended up killing him. He got into his house. By the time the dude knew what was going on, he woke up out of his sleep with a pistol to his head. Had there been a dog, that never would have happened. You get what I'm saying? So he didn't get a chance to get his gun. If your dog, if you're saying, I don't need my dog to protect my house because I have guns and that's what I'm going to breed for, guess what drive you're taking out of your dog? One, protection drive, but two, pack drive. Any dog that's got a high pack drive wanting to be around his family is also going to want to protect its family. That's what makes up a companion. Think of your homies as your companions. Nobody wants to kick. I had one homie that he was like, I'm not getting into fights. That was not his thing. And we all accepted that. But do you want that from your dog? You know what I mean? A dog that won't protect your wife and kids when you're not home. You know, if something happens to your wife and kids, one of the first things that's going to come to your mind is, where was the dog? So don't jump on Facebook and say, I breed for docility and I don't need a dog to protect my home. These are dogs. I expect for the Chihuahua to warn me. I expect for the Pomeranian to warn me. I don't expect for them to. My Jack Russell was 15 pounds. You couldn't pull a car up in front of my house unless it was one of our cars, and she couldn't see it. She just knows by the sound of the engine. So when you couldn't pull a car up in front of our home and she not bark, unless it was my car, my wife's car, my son's car, my aunt's car, my mom and dad's car. If it wasn't one of those cars, she was going to be barking. We knew somebody was pulling up in front of the house. It may just be the neighbor across the street, but she was letting us know. That's a combination of protection drive and pack drive, the willingness to protect my pack, or at least alarm my pack. The first protection dogs did not start off as protection dogs. They started off as alarm dogs. They were warning, what we call watch dogs. And then you have guardian dogs who are willing to actually make contact. If you don't want your bully to, for whatever reasons, you're nervous around guardian type dogs or guardian type breeds, and you don't want that involved in your breedings, then cool. But don't breed out the fact that your dog is willing to alarm you. It just makes no sense. At that point, we have to question, why are you even into dogs if you don't like what dogs are about? Because that's the whole species is built on that. Let's see here. Betsy said, Dag, I wish I was in the same state as you. Laugh out loud. Would love for you to see Bailey and Leakin together. I want to see them also because you told me a lot about them. But I'm gonna try within the next year or two to start going out, and I want to start within the next year, start going out to the kennels here in California. But then I do want to make my way out of state, so that is going to be something that that I'm going to come be doing. Let's see, somebody else here on Facebook said, in my opinion, you have to realize the person you are dealing with. Are you dealing with a breeder, a person who is looking for a dog for a specific purpose, or a fur mom? Exactly. The reason why I say that is will determine the type of dog being created. Just my opinion. Honestly, that's not even an opinion. I'm not sure who said that, so I'm gonna try to catch you, but and see who it was. But that's not even an opinion. That's a fact. A lot of people get into, hey, Big Texas, what's up, man? That's TTB's showcase. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. A lot of people are not into dogs. A lot of people have something missing in their life, and the easiest way to fill in that gap is to put a dog there rather than figure out what it is that's going on in their life, that they have this void, they have this gap. So they get this dog in there because they Facebook and they get to meeting people, and or they like the show ring, and next thing you know, they start breeding. And it's, if that's what you're breeding for, then you shouldn't have been breeding. You should have just stuck to the shows and let the other breeders handle it. But we have too many people in the American bully community, and even in the dog community, period, that are just getting dogs because they're not into dogs. They just have some void in their life that they're trying to fill in, and it's the dogs that get hurt by that. It's the dogs that the after generations of just filling up this empty void that you got in your life, get out more. And if those people got out more, what you're going to notice is all of a sudden they're less into the dogs. You know what I'm saying? They go on vacation more, start meeting a guy or a girl, whatever it is. Next thing you know, they're less into the dogs. My dogs dominate my family. You know what I'm saying? I've been married almost 21 years. My kids are 26, 23, and 18. The dogs are all a part of my life. My daughter still graduated from college. We still handle our business. My oldest son's got a job. My youngest son helps me out. So we all still got to handle our business, but the dogs dominate us. You know what I'm saying? Right now, like I had to go to my mom's, who's in Oakland, this past weekend. So I was up there. We had to take the dogs with us because we made the mistake of my daughter's best friend knows some of the dogs better than the others, and my son's best friend knows some of the dogs better than the others. So it was mismatched, and we didn't realize that. So we ended up having to take the dogs with us. But these dogs have to be a part of your life. And what you'll realize is some of these people who are looking for a docile dog are just trying to fill a void, some type of void within their life, because breed standard does not ask for that. And it's always the people who are hard up on the breed standard that, when it comes to confirmation, that are downing, those people who are doing protection work, hog hunting, a dog that will flex his muscle when he's at the dog park to let other dogs know to step back. It's always those people who have an issue with that for whatever reasons have gotten into dog breeding just through, social media promoting it. Let's see here. Tuxedo Pit Bull said, have you heard of Leg Perthis disease? I have never heard of that. So if you know about it, feel free to jump in there and tell us what it is. Also, you guys, there's a link to StreamYard. I think I figured out how to use it where I can post it and you guys can join in. Matter of fact, I think if I do it now, let's see how it works. Okay, so it's in there, but it doesn't look like it's underlining it to let you join in. So I got to figure that out, how I go about doing that. But I've never heard of that. I have never heard of that at all. So Floyd said, when you coming out to Texas? Like I said, Texas will probably be one of the first spots we hit, but my cousin and I are going to be trying to start traveling around within the next 2 years. We want to hit California first, and then within the next 2 years, start making moves to get out and look at, other people's kennels, doing lives from, those kennels, and, just start kind of showcase what people in this bully community are doing. Cornelius Sharp, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Now, that's for docile breeders. When it comes to what was the other topic, was crossing breeds. How did we get to the American bully and dogs that took it to the next level? When it comes to crossing breeds, we all know that the way to create a breed is by using at least 2 other breeds. Okay. And again, Tuxedo Pit Bulls, if you let us know, try to let us know during this live what that is. And he said as Legg-Perthes disease. I have never heard of that. But definitely let us know what that is, and I'll definitely also look into it. But when it comes to the bully, we know they took a whole bunch of other breeds. So we know a lot of people are still making the mistake of saying the American bully is a cross between Amstaff and Pit Bull. The Amstaff is a watered down Pit Bull. So if you cross an Amstaff and a Pit Bull, all you're going to get is an Amstaff. You can't create a breed off of that. They're not far enough apart from each other in lineage. Even though they're 2 different dogs now that we're 80 years down the line, might be around 85 years down the line, they're still too close for you to create a breed by bringing those together. But we know at some point they brought these. We know Dave Wilson was big on taking the Amstaff and the Pit and creating a thicker dog. He often says in his lives that he was doing back in the day, that he was looking for a dog of more substance. Hold on, y'all. Let's see. Joe, thanks for joining in. He says summertime in Arizona. We ain't doing shit unless we take a quick vacation. Exactly. Northern Ed said dog parks are a no for me. Too many irresponsible owners. I agree with you. Dog parks are not my thing either. Straight up. That's not my thing. I've had dogs that I knew were gonna be hot and wanted to bring some of that down for working purposes, especially if I needed that dog to be able to function when that dog was young, and I knew I would take that dog to a dog park for up to about 6 to 8 months of age, and then begin the hunting process. It wouldn't, especially with catch dogs. One of the problems is if they're extremely hot, is they can get a hold of an animal, get knocked loose from that animal, and all of a sudden they hit one of the hounds or another dog. So when you get a dog that is going to be kind of hot, one of the ways to get around that is take them to the dog park because you got your dogs as part of your pack at home, but you need him to get along with other people's dogs that you might meet during the hunt. So one of the tricks I used to do with that is right between the ages of 4 months and 8 months, but before they're actually too young to go out with us, I would take them to dog parks just so that they would be accustomed to coming across dogs they've never met before. After about 8 months, I didn't do that with them. Like I said, dog parks aren't my thing. So far, our productions are there. Our first production is about 11, 12 months right now. They're all at dog parks. They all went to people who love taking them to dog parks, and they're all doing extremely well. Their mama, Cardi Bull, is a little edgy. King is great at dog parks. So their dad is great. They're doing great with it. But they still have a little bit of hurt energy, but they do well with dogs at dog parks. That's just personally me, not my thing, as far as dog parks go. Northern Ed says, still waiting on you to break my breeding pair. My bad, dude. I forgot, and I will get to that. I've been off of Messenger for probably about 4 or 5 days just because of going out of town and everything. So tomorrow, and that goes to everybody else. If you hit me up through Messenger, I will be getting to those starting tomorrow. I do apologize. I just been kind of caught up, but I will be getting to that. So don't forget me, Northern Edge. I have not forgotten you. Let's see. Okay. So let's see. Tuxedo said, what was that? Leg Perthes disease. A client bought a pup from me, and he said his pup had pain in his leg joint, but he couldn't tell me if his pup jumped off something or was injured. He was telling me it is genetic. Oh. People, a lot of times, owners like to push things off on the breeder when it comes to environment. Even hip dysplasia, they're saying more and more has to do with the environment while it was with the breeder, but also once it hit 8 weeks, that environment when it was with the owner. Let's see. So that's interesting. And be careful with that. Take a look at your other litters. If it was a repeat breedings and seeing if there's issues. If you only had 4 pups from that litter, it could be genetics, it could be not. If you had 6 to 10 pups from that litter and they're doing fine except for that one pup, then there's a good chance that it is not your breeding, it's something that owner did. And I'm even bad where I want dogs to go. I have to hold myself back. And a lot of people are that same way. They get that pup and they want to do all kinds of stuff with it, not understanding that you need to wait 6 months, then start 8 months, then increase a year, then you can kind of go all out. And a lot of people don't have understanding of those growth plates really not being attached at young ages. So don't do good business by that person, but don't take blame for something that you don't know is yours. Then let's see, Tuxedo says, I looked it up and there's a genetic aspect to it, but can also can happen from an injury. See, it sounds like what Raul was talking about, why you don't let your dog jump off things, keep them light, etc. Exactly. Your dogs need, in the bully community, we have this bad habit of making fat puppies because they look good in pictures, so we're overfeeding them. But it ends up causing issues with hips, pasterns, shoulders, the back, so always keep your pups light, just like he said Raul was talking about. You want to keep your pups light. Those genetics will kick in. You're going to be slowly increasing their food as they get older, and let those genetics kick in and do what they do before you start increasing, too much food and things. He said the pup is a bully pit bull cross. I guess you can call them. But see, and now here's the thing. Pit bulls don't usually have issues. So if it's a bully pit bull cross, then I would lean more towards your side and say that it's probably something that happened with its new owner. And said all pups in litter are perfect, and the sire has been used quite a bit. So, so chances are it's something that owner did, and they're either not telling you, not being honest about it, or they may not realize what they did, but they have to be able to look at, okay, this is when my pup started limping. What did I do within the last 48 hours? Because that tends to be about how long it takes that could have caused it. So, and especially if the pup is limping, that's usually not going to be genetics. Never had a problem, and they want to keep him, and they want a pup, I think, for free. I wouldn't fall into that. I wouldn't fall into that. Like I said, try to do good business by them. Even if maybe you say, okay, you want another pup, I'll give you a discount because of that pup. But understand if you have any issues after that with this next coming pup, because no other pups in the litter have any issues. And you need to let them know that. But go ahead, maybe give them some type of discount. I don't know. That's something you kind of got to figure out. But don't be docile business wise and take blame for something that is probably not your fault. Betsy Spirit Rider said XLs mature slowly. Lincoln's 3 and just topped off in height. There you go. King stopped growing, I would say, around 3. Cardi Bull, I thought, has stopped growing until I would say probably about 6 months ago. She started getting a little wider and her head started getting a little bigger. Height wise, I think she's the same. I just never measured her to really tell, but I think she's about the same. Let's see what else we got here. Looks like we caught up on those comments. And looks like we are. Let me open this up so I can keep track of the comments. Okay, so but how did we get to the American Bully? So we know that we had the Amstaff. We know we had the Pit Bull. We like to talk about the Pit Bull, but the truth is there's very little Pit Bull in these dogs. It's mostly Amstaff. We know before the American Bully in the 80s, the 90s, people were already mixing Pit Bulls and Rottweilers, Pit Bulls and in the South, Pit Bulls, and they were also doing it here on the West Coast, Pit Bulls and American Bulldogs. We know that the oldie Pit Bull was used in the oldie. We know that some people don't know the difference between the Amstaff and the Pit Bull, so therefore they were doing the same thing with Amstaffs. Here in California, I know when I was in DC in the early 90s, I met a lot of dudes that were mixing dogs, Pit Bull to various Mastiffs, creating band dogs for protection. Some weren't creating band dogs, but they were doing the same mixes just for looks. Here in California, the same thing was going on. We know the blue dogs got popular. Blue is a dominant color within this breed. Gray line was one of those that made the blue dogs popular all the way to the point where they created the notorious Juan Gotti, which started when he was bought. That kicked off the whole Gotti line. That's pretty much how we got to this, but we know it was a mixture of Mastiffs that created the XL, a mixture of working Bulldogs that created the XL. We know some of that went into the standards because you got standards that kick XL and standards. So we had this mix of various different breeds to make up anywhere from what? Shit. Or some lines may be a little more controlled, whereas maybe 4 different breeds. Some are up to 6, possibly 7. And you got those that are in between. That, you know, and when you start getting into the smaller dogs, you got your English Bulldogs. Robert McCormick, the guy that I do the lives with on Fridays for the marketing series, he has a huge XL. He created from a Pit Bull bred to an English Bulldog back in the day. And the pup was the biggest pup in the litter and came out bigger than both mom and dad. But he was like a large standard, Robert said, to between large standard and a you know, shorter XL. So those are the things that, you know, we have all, and that was an English Bulldog. So that is how we got the girth and the height and the looks that we have. And you can still see them in these dogs today. A lot of people like to blame the droopy look in a lot of XLs on Mastiff. But the truth is American Bulldog, especially your Johnson lines, have that droopy face. And we're supposed to be cleaning that up to get, you know, a more concise look. But what dogs took the breed like to the next level? We know Razor's Edge as a kennel did that. We know Gray Line as a kennel created Juan Gotti, who was in almost everybody's pedigree. He did that. But who else is out there? We know Dax was a major influence, especially if I'm not mistaken. That kind of is where the extreme came from before it was thrown out as a class. Dax was a major influence due to he brought back a lot of that English Bulldog look, big head, wide neck. He also brought high rears as an issue, but not that they weren't there before, because you get Mastiffs with high rears due to the fact Mastiffs back legs tend to be more underneath them than the average dog. Even when they're walking, you can notice that in Mastiff. So there's various places it comes from, but we know Dax was a major influence. We know Miyagi was a major influence and spun off to the exotic world. one dog that I don't think gets enough props when it comes to the American Bully. He's heavy in Cardi Bull's lineage. The Rock from BGK, Big Gemini Kennels with Andre Smith. He's got a lot of dogs and a lot of people's pedigrees that they have no idea he's there. Cardi Bull came from Romania. BGK is extremely dominant in the XLs in Romania when you start getting back 5, 6, 7 generations. Andre's promotions on YouTube, especially, open the door up for the XLs to be accepted. Another dog people don't want to admit, DDK9, Marlon Greenens, the Hulk. Oh, he's not a pit bull. He's not a bully. Regardless, he opened the door for that look on a big dog to be acceptable in the world. He's the most popular dog on the planet right now. I mean, we used to have Petey from the Little Rascals, and we had Lassie. You know, we had Benji, Rin Tin Tin. Hulk is up there. You know what I mean? He may not be running around doing movies and stuff like that, but the world knows of him. Because of the Hulk, what do people want? I want a big pit bull. What's a big pit bull? An XL pit bull. Well, what does that end up leading them to? The XL American Bully. So these are dogs that change the game. I think we should all be trying to, if you're breeding American Bullies, I think we should all be trying to breed to the standard. Definitely breed type. Pay attention and respect the standard. But Remy, yes, Remy was another game changer. Remy is known for being hot and producing hot dogs, but Remy was also a great looking dog. Remy is definitely one to be recognized. Let's see who else is in there. But you know, a lot of people, you know, they knock the Hulk, but if not for the Hulk, you wouldn't have as many casual people outside of the breeder element of Facebook that are into these dogs. We just kind of got started with Instagram. We're kind of slow at it. Northern Edge said Paco. Paco was another one. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Paco kind of help get the pockets going, if I'm not mistaken? I might have him mixed up, but he was another one that influenced the game. But as far as a lot of those dogs influenced the game within breeders, but to the masses, you have to acknowledge those dogs. And if it wasn't for a Hulk, the promotions done around by Andre around the Rock, a lot of people wouldn't be looking at these dogs as acceptable for your apartment, for your home. Okay, so yeah, so Paco was king of the pockets. So these are dogs that had a major influence on our breed, whether we, regardless of what we think about you know, the Hulk, his owner, regardless. I personally got a lot of love from Marlon. I did an interview with him. And what was crazy about the interview was how many people hit me up afterwards saying they didn't realize how much he knew about dogs. You know, they're looking at it like, you know, these YouTube videos are just for show. But when he and I really got to talking dogs, you know, protection, there were things he was saying that even I was like, oh, okay, I didn't think about that. And a lot of people felt the same way. But the Hulk opened up doors for him, being on Good Morning America and all these things, open up the doors for a lot of people. My question, or a lot of these larger dogs, including the standard, the XL, the double XL style dogs. My question would be, does anybody see something coming down the line? You know, you got Merle dogs, but that's not really doing anything necessarily. I guess they are doing something for the breed. You know, the casual dog owner sees Merle and they love the look. We know as breeders, there's an issue with Merles. We have a Merle in our camp that we haven't bred yet. but she's off of Woodland. But we know as breeders that Merle is something that you have to understand, you have to know about, you have to be smart with. But Merles are kind of taking these dogs to the next level. We know Tries kind of took it to the next level, but I don't see one dog taking it to the next level any longer. And I don't know that we'll necessarily have that again. Let's see. Mike B said, "Do you consider Zulu bloodline to be APBT or American Bully?" Thanks again. When you say Zulu, I'm thinking you're talking about Keelan's dog. I know of a Zulu bloodline that definitely is not APBT, but I don't think you're talking about that. But when you say that, I think you're talking about Keelan's dog. Zulu is not a pit bull. He is what I would call an American Bully. He's off of I forget the name of Tuan Tran's kennel, but he comes from that line of dogs. So he's an American Bully, just based off the lineage, how he was bred. Northern Ed said if these breeders don't want an all-around dog that do it all, they should be breeding guinea pig. Exactly. Because that's what dogs are for. You know what I mean? They should be versatile. What about King Louis from MBK? He's a dope dog, but is he Red Lion? Exactly. That's what Zulu's from. He's King Louis is a dope dog with MBK, but I don't know that he's necessarily a game changer. You know what I mean? Does he take the breed to the next level? Not necessarily. I guess you could take the breed to the next level amongst breeders. I think originally I was thinking more to the masses, but you can take that. That's actually a good example. I think King Louis is more of a breeder dog, though. Outside in the regular world, nobody knows really, who he was. And I think for dogs, when the outside world doesn't really know who you are, you need to be in the beginning stages of that breed to actually be, a game changer or a dog that takes, the game to the next level. Let me see, make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, looks like High Class Rock said you got a lot of knowledge, sir. Thank you very much. Just trying to help out the community, man. And, kind of hoping to take these breedings to the next level, especially when it comes to the drive, temperament, and cognitive ability within these breeds, and get away from some of the things that, I see a lot of. Let's see, Zulu Kennels that produced the dog Kanye West. Okay, now I think I know what you're talking about, and those are bullies. That's I would not call that an APBT. Don't quote me on that. I need to see him again and make sure I know which one I'm talking about. Aftermath changed the Merle game. Yes, Woodland has changed the Merle game, but when you step outside of bullies, not many people know Woodland. He's, in my opinion, he has that dog. He has that ability to kind of get there, but it just depends on how the promotions go. Let's see. Floyd Clark said, "Great info. You are the first person I've heard speak heavily on this subject." Thank you, Floyd. Daniel said Muggleston. Muggleston definitely was a game changer. Grand Champion Techno, I think, was a game changer. Who else out there? I'll tell you right now, I don't know that it's necessarily happening as of yet. I think to be a game changer, you got to get a couple productions in there that are known. Dooley, to me, is a possible game changer. I know he's focused more on the show ring, and I know Fred is also selective about who he goes to, because he's got his own reputation to keep up. And if you look at the breedings that he's been going to, you could tell Fred is picky. I don't care if it's 100 dogs or it's 10 dogs. You could tell Fred is picky about which ones he goes to. Dooley, to me, though, seeing him as Cinco de Mayo, actually getting to put hands on him, get a feel for his energy. Hold on, Floyd. Get a feel for his energy. he's an incredible dog. He to me is that dog that if Fred just took out there to the masses, um, he could be a game changer. But start looking at Northern Ed said Mr. Beans. He was a game changer. He took a lot of hate. I don't know how much is true, how much is false. Because when I see drama surround a dog, I intentionally try, or a person, I intentionally try not to get wrapped up in that. Mufasa is another game changer, but again, I think those are more amongst breeders. Do we have that dog that's going to take right now? When I take our dogs out, people see pit bull because they don't really know what a pit bull looks like, and they don't know that the Amstaff exists. They know it's not a mastiff, so the first thing when they see muscle is just pit bull. Do we have that dog that is gonna let people know that no, these are bullies? Or is it because us breeders are so all over the place with our productions and them not being, having that similar look? You figure just with the XLs, you look at the grand champions, they don't look like different breeds, but they definitely don't have consistency. I think we're at 9 of them now. They definitely don't have, we're at 9 or 10. But you look at the XLs, the grand champions, you would think grand champions would be consistent, and they don't have that consistency when you go from dog to dog. Now it's a new breed. And because of it being a new breed, the breed is slowly evolving. A lot of people say it shouldn't, but it's kind of hard to fight that when you haven't given the dog a purpose. I think the ABKC did a good job with the illustration that they put out to give us all an idea of what they're looking at, when it comes to putting that standard in a visual. So we all have to take note of that. But did we have these breedings kind of been all over the place? We used a lot. There were a lot of dogs used to create this breed. Then a whole bunch of breeders got involved. And then the internet came. So now you got a whole bunch of dogs used to create the breed. You got a whole bunch of breeders. Then you got the internet, who's got a flood of pictures. Some dogs look like bullies, some don't look like bullies. And so the dogs are having a hard time getting a consistent look. And with the pocket has come together pretty good. You know what I mean? As far as consistency. Then you get to the standard. And because it's a larger dog, there's more room for mistakes. And now all of a sudden you get to the XL. Because it's a larger dog, there's more room, even more room for mistakes and more inconsistency. And that's what we're dealing with right now. Yes, I forgot all about that, Betsy. I'm glad you said that. Congratulations to Heather for early drop bullies. Prince Charmer, I want to say at the BRC show, became grand champion. Prince Charmer, I think most people know he's one of my favorite bullies, but he just became grand champion. And shout out and salute to Heather from Oily Drop Bullies for hitting that goal. I always say, I don't care if it's hunting, if it's protection, if it's the show ring. It is not easy to hit goals when it comes to dogs, to get that recognition. You know what I mean? And bam, she knocked it out the park. She did it. Salute, Heather. Great job. See, Tuxedo Pitbull said, I've been in the game for over 30 years and was always against bullies. I was too, because I felt that people were messing with the pit bull and causing health issues. This year I bought a Merle bully puppy. We got a Merle. She is, like I said, she's off of Woodland and Woodland from Scorpion Kennels, and Tootsie from Bay Boy Bullies. Jason was one of the guys that helps us run the group. And, so we went down a Merle path. Is our kennel going to be made up of Merles? No. But what we didn't want, and kind of Raul spoke on it the best, where he stated he didn't want to have, he was anti-Merle, but he didn't want to have productions out there going to Merle. And then all of a sudden, these people are capitalizing off of it. And then here he is sitting back, not capitalizing off of it. And the Merle is slowly, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the pictures of Prince Charmer in the show ring from this weekend at the BRC show, if I'm not mistaken, there was a Merle in there. Don't quote me on that, but from what I saw, BRC allows Merles to show. ABKC allows them to be registered right now, but doesn't allow them to show. So there's a good chance Merles are going to be a major part of this breed. Mike B said, I'm an old school dude, but I've had to come to the realization that without being on social media, nobody is going to know who you are. That's exactly what it is. You can end up with the best pups in the world and 0 customers. That's the truth. I actually have had my own personal Facebook page. I wasn't in the dog groups or anything. I was in a few pit bull and working breed groups with my personal page, but for the most part, it was all family. Then I just kind of, for whatever reasons, ended up not being on Facebook or social media for probably about 5 years. It wasn't intentional. It just kind of happened. Wasn't thinking about it. We got into the bullies, and I logged back into my Facebook account. And when I saw the shenanigans in the bully community that weren't in the other dog breeds, I created the page that I'm on now, my new Daryl Thor page, and that's where I deal more with breeders and things like that. But yeah, this breed is dominated by social media, and you know what? I take that back. The dog world period is becoming dominated by social media. You're seeing the influence with the smush face of the Rottweiler. It's just taken over. And unfortunately, social media opens the door to people who don't know any better. And therefore, it opens the door to breeders who are looking to sell dogs and produce dogs for people that don't, know any better. So I don't know how, even when it just comes to outside of dogs, politics, religion, whatever it is you want to talk about, I don't know how we prevent social media from ruining who we are as individuals and as a society. Because even if you have some people who are on social media, and then you have some people who are of social media. The objective is to be on social media, learn about dogs, give out information on dogs, try to bring the best to the community that you can without becoming of social media. And we're all going to slip. There's a brother that breeds exotics by the name of Muhammad Kareem, and I give him a lot of respect. He did a live years ago. It was probably about 4 or 5 years ago when I first started looking at different lives. And the comment he made was, when you get on social media and you start becoming a part of it, it's either going to show your true character or it's going to take you out of character. And I think that's something that everybody should remember, and think about, because there are a lot of people who are on here just to troll, just to bash, because for them and whatever's going into their life, that's fun, but at the same time, it affects these dogs. You don't see it so much on Instagram. You don't see it so much on YouTube. It's heavy on Facebook. The trash of the community is extremely heavy on Facebook because it's just easier to get around and manipulate and get involved with things. And it's sad because there's a lot of misinformation out there in social media. There's a lot of misinformation on Google. But I think we all have to try to participate, and again, make sure that we're being our better selves. Let's see. Mr. J said, we as breeders and owners need to use proper terminology to teach the general public. We do. And one thing I noticed terminology that has always been understood in the dog community now gets twisted or watered down to lower expectations for breeders to feel more comfortable about the dogs in their yard. And we do need to get back to having higher expectations of our dogs, both mentally and physically. Let's see. 862 said, does anyone think that XLs will eventually be considered a whole different breed? Woo, good question. I see a push for that. I want to say the BRC considers them a separate breed. I know they did that for, if I'm not mistaken, for showing purposes. Um, Danny Cervantes, who goes live on Wednesdays in the group, Giant XL American Bully group. And I shout out to Danny for doing that. Thanks, him and Fred for, doing those lives on a weekly basis. But Danny is pushing to actually take two versions, keep it the same breed, but because you have the larger XLs that sometimes have the structure that the bully breed is looking for and have the breed type and meet the standard, other than the fact that they're over 23 inches, he's even pushing for them to kind of be separated. Your dogs that are 20 to 23 inches, and then your dogs that are 23 inches and above be judged first, and then come together for the best XL, and then compete against the other breeds and other classes and other breeds. I don't know. I don't think ABKC plans on separating it, though. I don't believe they do. I know ABKC at some point, if I'm not mistaken, Dave said in the next few years, plans on putting us. Right now, there's a division within the classes. You have the pocket that is 14 to 17 inches. Then you have the standard and the classic that is 17 to 20 inches. And then you have the XL that's 20 to 23 inches and up. So you have a division, or you have a separation, but you don't have, or you have a division, but you don't really have a true separation. When you look at the Schnauzer, and there's 3 different classes, there's inches between them. You know what I mean? So the question is, when the ABKC decides to actually put a true separation within them, meaning, and just says, okay, XLs can only breed to XLs, standards can only breed to standards, pockets can only breed to pockets. There's going to be 2 to 3 inches within each of the classes. And I'm saying 2 to 3 inches. That's not, don't quote me on that. But to me, it would only make sense to have 2 to 3 inches in between them so that it's easily recognizable. Is that going to make the pocket smaller? I'm assuming they're going to leave the standard where it is, 17 to 20 inches. So is the pocket going to get smaller to create that room? Is the XL going to become larger to create that room? If you put 2 inches, now you're looking at the XL being 22 to 25 inches. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play that card. Tuxedo Pitbull said, I can't say I converted, just added bullies to my program, but it took a year to learn about them, and I'm still learning. Yeah. When the bullies first came out, I was heavy working dogs. I got into bull lurchers slowly after the bully started. The American bully, started. I was still into Rottweilers. Wasn't using them for working, other than just testing them as far as protection. I was still assisting in a lot of pit bull breedings. So when the bully came out, I was like, this is just a waste. You took all these potentially great working dogs and you slapped them together to create a show breed, a breed with no purpose. So even when I got into bullies with my cousin and I have bred the same breeds, but have never bred the same breeds at the same time. Then he got into King Corsos. Then he decided he wanted to fade into bullies. And he hit me up. He was like, let's get on the same page. At that time, I was actually contemplating creating my own breed off of bull lurchers. And when he brought up bullies, I was like, no way, let's do American bulldogs or dogos. We tossed it around for months. And then finally I said, okay, let's go ahead and do the bully. So it took me a while to get into it. Mike B said, what class does Danny breed? Danny breeds XLs. He is the owner of Second to None Bully Kennels and the owner of Champion He-Man. But yeah, Danny breeds XLs, and he is really pushing hard on the XLs. Just to kind of speak on that, when it comes to the XLs, I think we are probably the most divided community in the bully world. Pockets seem to get along, standards seem to get along. But when it comes to the XLs, there's a lot of trolling, a lot of bashing dogs. And I think, in my opinion, I've heard Danny speak on it, Heather, who we gave a shout out to earlier, for what she's accomplished with Grand Champion Prince Charmer. But I think because there's so much bashing, people don't show up to the shows. I went to my first show this past Cinco de Mayo, so last month. Now, Cinco de Mayo, you have dogs that have flaws. You have the fun show, and then you also have the confirmation show. But everybody's having a good time getting along. I think when you start getting outside of Cinco de Mayo, less XLs are showing up to the shows. And the only thing I could think of is Facebook, the constant bashing. Granted, there are probably a lot of breeders within the XL community that don't want their dogs to be seen and use Facebook and Instagram and websites as a shortcut to promote their dogs, take the best pictures, and people don't really see your dogs. But it's just weird that you have the pocket community that shows up, the standard community shows up, and all of a sudden you get to the next class, the XL, and nobody's showing up. Yet at the same time, there's a coincidence. This happens to be the community that does the most bashing and trashing each other. There's even pocket breeders and standard breeders that come into the XL community just to bash people, bash their yards, their programs, their dogs. So I think people do need to start going out to these shows, and that includes me, and participating in these shows. Now, I will say I would like to get a production in the show ring rather than dogs we purchased for the show ring. I can say right now, this first production probably won't be in there. The second production we just had probably won't be in there. Well, be at shows, but as far as I'm going into the show ring, I'm just as guilty as everybody else. Here I am sitting in front of you guys, coming up with an excuse of why I'm not taking my dog. I'm just not into that. But because the community so much is, even myself, I'm putting a pressure on myself that really doesn't have to be there. I want to step into the show ring the first time and Grand Champ that dog out. You know what I mean? And I think we all kind of have to bring it down a little bit. Let's support the community. Let's support, the registries, BRC, ABKC, UKC. Start showing up with these dogs, and if it's the best dog from your yard, bring it. You know what I mean? And really start getting into, the show ring. And that, like I said, that includes myself. I'm just as guilty. My cousin, who's my kennel partner, he's just as guilty. But we do need to start getting these dogs out there, because otherwise, if we don't participate, what you can end up having down the line at some point outside of our control, the registries might say, let's just get rid of the XL. They did it to the extreme. Let's just get rid of the XL, focus on the pocket, the classic, and the standard, because the XLs aren't showing up anyway. So I think we all need to participate, a lot more. All right, so we've been 1 hour and 30 minutes. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Let's see. Mike B said, I have a 3.5-year-old XL female. I've been feeding her the Victor kibble that comes with glucosamine and chondroitin in it. Do you have any experience with these types? I feed pedigree and Purina. I don't do the high-end dog foods. What I do is I add to it. I add chicken feet, or they call them chicken paws. I add chicken feet. I don't do raw chicken. Even with the chicken feet, I do a quick boil on it. And then I add that to the food along with the water that it was boiled in. I don't do a lot of the high-end dog foods, but I stick to pedigree and I stick to Purina. And the reason I flip back and forth is to see, I want to breed dogs that don't have issues with the dog foods that have been here for 50 to 100 years. I don't want to have to tell my customers this is what you have to feed the dogs. And you're going to go through that because bullies have so many issues bred into them. But that was our thing, is trying to get away from it. Now we have some females with my cousin that do eat a higher end food, and I want to say he has one on no grain. Cardi Bull, Lady Justice, they can eat any type of kibble, so therefore we stick to that, but we add to it. I have a protein day on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, it's all about fruits and veggies, and then Sunday I fast the dogs. But so I don't really deal with the Victor, the science diet, and a lot of those types of kibbles. I stick to your regular mainstream kibbles, because I want my dogs to have a mainstream diet, and I want people who get dogs from us to easily be able to go to their grocery store and add to it for whatever needs the dog may have. Let's see. Mr. J said, what would you consider the class to be if your dog is between heights? Tweeners. Example, 20 and a half inches. 20 and a half inches is an XL. There are dogs that are 20 inches that compete as standard and XL, I know of. But when you hit 20 and a half inches, you are supposed to be an XL. Betsy said, yep, I'll do Lincoln for fun shows, but next generation will hit the show ring. There you go. Let's see. 862 says such a variation in structure and build in the bullies, especially with the XLs. Yes. Which I think leads to a lot of the bickering. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. There are more breeds that went into creating the XL than the average XL than the average standard. There are more breeds that went into creating the average standard than the average pocket. So that's where we get these variety of looks and this variety of flaws, and that's where the bickering comes from. And so therefore, if you're breeding XLs, it's the easiest community to jump into and just talk shit and bash people. But here's what I will say, and why we can't use the variation in looks as an excuse. The exotic community, though they have issues, they stick together. They don't have the same amount of drama that we have in the XL community, and their look is all over the place. So I think it's just about us humbling ourselves. For whatever reasons, I know previously there was a group called D-Line that had a lot of bashing and people pulling up people's personal information and using it against them online, and just a lot of nonsense going on. Somehow that group faded off, I think like a year or two before I got on Facebook. So 5-6 years ago. But if you pay attention, a lot of those people from that are still around and still cause a lot of the bickering and bashing that you see online. That group, I think, is gone, but a lot of those people are still in, and a lot of those people I see in the XL community, but I see them in the XL community and I see them in the exotic community, yet they may not have exotics or XLs. Because they're just in it for the bashing. And it's not just them. It's a lot of other people. They come in, they catch on and see what's going on, and they think it's fun. Some people take pleasure in hurting others. And that's what we see taking place online, and especially in the XL community. Mike B said, thanks again for all the info. I hope people understand how valuable what you, Raul, and Danny are doing by giving out all this info for free. I really appreciate it. You know what? Much love, Mike. I really hope it helps. And a couple people hit me up I think it was last week. I said that I get hit by so many people that I might have to kind of start charging like a 5 to. I'm not going to do that. You've got questions, feel free to hit me up about anything. If I don't have the answer, I will let you know. I will never all of a sudden surprise somebody and they ask me a question and say, okay, send me $100 and I'll answer your question. Nah, it's not. I don't see that happening. Feel free to ask me anything, and whatever knowledge I have, I'm willing to give. Just understand, don't get mad at me, because sometimes it does take me time to get to Messenger. What I'm trying to do is be less on Facebook and more in Messenger, helping people directly, and then stick with the lives that we're doing, and just within the group, trying to use my personal page less. So I am going to be doing a whole lot of blocking of the people that you see trolling me. And first, I always start off just unfriending them, and then if they still want to use energy, I got a couple people that went off because I unfriended them last week, but which makes no sense. Like, if all you're here to do is discredit me or bash me, then why are you upset that I unfriended you? People are funny though. People are sensitive. People are emotional, and it's crazy. But I'm trying to organize things to where we still are doing the live on Tuesday. Probably another one throughout the week, and then focus more on, because I also have to get our Instagram and the YouTube going, and I don't spend enough time with it. So I'm trying to pull back a little bit from Facebook, maintain everything that you guys see me doing now, but at the same time, focus less on my personal page, the Daryl Thor page on Facebook, and kind of take some of that time and focus on Messenger so that I can get caught up, with questions that people have, and and try to help as many people out as possible. Northern Edge said, I personally breed standard class and towards pocket class in the future, but nothing but respect for you and all the knowledge you possess, bro. Hey, thank you, bro. Thanks for the appreciation. I appreciate you appreciating me and, what it is we're doing. I love dogs. I have grown to love this breed. And anything I can do, especially with it being a new breed, I definitely want to put my stamp on it before I exit out the planet. And if I can help other people, put their stamp on it, that's even great. That's great also. Let me make sure I'm not missing any. Looks like we got all those comments. And for some reason, this one went blank. Victor Hall said, what's up, brother? What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Anthony, what's up, dude? He said, I duly breeding coming this year. See, I might be somewhat behind you. Dooley's a badass dog, and I think he can bring a lot to any class. So much respect on making that move. You know what I'm saying? I know there's a couple other people that have gone to Dooley. And I think he can bring a lot. I would love to take a king female to Dooley directly. I think we could get something incredible off of that. We have one black male that we came from a king to a pocket, and so I'm thinking we got something there. He's only about 10 weeks old. Loving his energy. But I'm thinking we got something there when it comes to his structure also. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with him. Let's see. Marcus Brittany Allen said, I have a mini schnauzer. I have always wanted a giant schnauzer. But I don't have time for it now. But I love the schnauzer breed. We actually have a mini schnauzer, actually two. One across the street from us and one down at the end of the block. The one across the street from us, I love him. He always gets loose, heads straight to our yard and starts shit with our dogs at least twice a week. And it cracks me up how much energy, because some dogs we get, they bark at our fence, starting stuff with the dog, but you can tell they're intimidated. That little mini schnauzer, he hits our fence, and you can tell he really thinks he's gonna do something if he can get in our yard. And I just love a dog with that type of energy. But we're gonna go ahead and get off of here. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody or anything. It doesn't look like I have. So we're gonna go ahead and get off of here. Tomorrow, Danny will be live. I want to say around 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So like 6 or 7 Eastern. But Danny will be live. Danny is from Second and None Bullies. He pushes the XL movement. He has a group called the XL Movement, and he also is the owner of Champion He-Man, who's making some moves lately. I actually met a guy who's going to be breeding the He-Man. He has a badass female at the Cinco de Mayo show last month. He's going to be doing a breeding to Danny's dog. to He-Man. He-Man's a badass dog. I love him. I love Danny and what he represents, the way he carries himself on Facebook. Sometimes he even gets on me about little things, but Danny's just a cool dude, and I'm glad he's decided to, agree to and to participate in the group. And understand, when Fred, the owner of 2 Grand Champions, and Danny go live in the group, they're going live in the group because I approached them and asked them if they would do that. And luckily, they both said that they would. And so check out their lives. Not only do their focus is more on the show ring, which is why I wanted them in it, because I don't know much about the show ring. That's something that I'm still learning. They can answer any questions that you got, the direction that they see the show heading, the direction that they see the breed heading. They have a lot of that. Fred is also a judge. Danny is not a judge, but not only does he participate in shows, he throws his own shows. So, like I said, I appreciate those 2 fellas for, joining in the group and doing the lives on Mondays and Wednesdays. Tuxedo said, God bless you and yours. Thank you, my friend. God bless you too. God bless everybody. We're going to go ahead and get out. Make sure to tune in tomorrow with Danny Cervantes in the Giant XL American Bully Breed group. And he'll be taking on whatever topics you bring up. We out. Oh, and this Friday, we'll be finishing up the marketing and promotion series with Robert McCormick and Andre from BGK. We're going to be summarizing the whole thing this Friday, so it'll be good to kind of have some cheat notes for yourself. And then also talking a little bit about, websites and kind of the best way to go about your website. And that's pretty much it. And I'll see you guys this Friday, and see you next Tuesday. And then again, make sure to tune in to Danny tomorrow as he does his thing.